Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
All good on your end? Like,
Hey, you sound good. Like your Cyndaquil profile picture.
oh, thank you very much. um, I want to start by saying congratulations on your win today. That was a pretty well fought series. And I kind of wanted to start by getting your initial thoughts, just your thoughts and feelings, and how you guys performed in this series.
I mean, I can't complain, right? We won 3-1. I think the boys had some great individual moments. We had some great communication. It just seems very, I guess I always want to perfect things, right? It seems very up and down.
Yeah.
Up and down right now. Like we start so slow or we start really strong, like yesterday against Heretics on lows, and that falls off. So I think for me, I'm just trying to find out how we can be more consistent, because the team's obviously incredible.
Yeah.
But it's just about that consistency, because you can see we can just turn on and smash teams for a half. So,
Yeah.
but overall, I'm happy. We're making steps in the right direction. I think if you look at us at the beginning of the year compared to how we are now, we're moving in the right direction. So I'm really happy about that.
Fair enough. I think one of the discussions that's been kind of going around the last couple of weeks probably is the sort of topic on style and how teams match up individually between each other, and how, obviously that plays into consistency as well. So how do you think that fares into Fnatic's personal style? And, as you say, you want to be more consistent in how you start out, but then you're facing different types of teams as well.
I think for me, it's less about the way that the players themselves match up against each other. I think it's more about often the map pool. The map pool seems very important right now. Like obviously we've got our Sunset ban going, so when we play a team that's good at Sunset, like Heretics or KC or one of those teams, and we can ban away that Sunset, it gives us a big advantage, and then we can go into maps that we're good at, and if that lines up after that, then it's looking pretty good. Or if we come across a team that is maybe playing maps we don't really like, it becomes quite difficult. So for me, I think it's the veto that makes the biggest thing, rather than like my duelist against your duelist, if that makes sense. I think everyone's going to be fighting against each other, so I think it's more about the map pool for me.
Fair enough. I also wanted to kind of ask as well, because I think the desk touched on this a little bit. You letting that Icebox through as well, like where's sort of your confidence level like for your team's Icebox currently? Because it was kind of looking a little shaky to start out the round, as match, as you said, alluded to.
I mean, I think we're good on Icebox. We're going to make some adjustments for tomorrow, which I won't obviously talk about because we've got to play tomorrow. But I think on defense, we made quite a few mistakes we shouldn't have, or left some stuff open, which I think is not too difficult to fix. Just have to bring it to the attention of the boys and fix that. So I think our Icebox has always been a good map for this team. It's not my personal favorite map, I'll be honest, as a coach, but the players we have really like it, and you've seen that in the history of this team. So you've got to play to the players' strengths, not my strength. I'm not on the server, so
Yeah.
I think we're pretty happy in Icebox.
I see. Considering the format where since 2 matches ago you already know you've qualified for Shanghai, how much of this period do you use for experimentation in terms of during match time, and how much of it you just want to sort of establish yourselves and get as good of a seeding as possible within the rest of this playoffs bracket?
Well, I think that we want to establish ourselves. I think if we'd started the year just smashing everyone like we did last year, like the team did last year, then you could maybe be like, oh, let's play around a little bit. But I think right now what we need is to get turn up the matches and play properly, get some stuff that we can review and improve on as a team, and get a bit of confidence going. So it's not really a time for us to be experimenting. We're playing on the old patch anyway, not the new patch that we're playing at Shanghai. So I think for us it's just more about momentum and learning and confidence. So we're going into this trying to win every single time.
As you talked about, Shanghai's on a completely different patch. Viper's out, which means a lot of your compositions will have to change as well. How are you looking in terms of your preparations for Shanghai? Like, where do you currently see yourselves at?
I mean, it's going to be rushed. I'm not really happy, to be honest, the fact that the Pacific competition gets to play the new patch this weekend while we're playing the old patch. It seems like a bit of a competitive advantage for them. Yeah. So I'm not really sure why Riot did that. But obviously we're going to be low on time. Like we finish here tomorrow. It's the last day. Mm-hmm. We fly out on Thursday to Shanghai. So we got to get some media days. We got to have a couple of rest days in there. Like we can't just go into practice on Monday after playing 5 official days in a row. So for us, it's going to be like low reps, to be honest. Going into Shanghai, we won't have many days of practice, so we'll be looking to obviously move away where it makes sense from the agents that got nerfed. So maybe Viper. I think her not being able to pick up her orb is actually a really big deal, and obviously one less spit. But honestly, we've been so focused on these finals, and we only qualified 2 days ago, and it's crazy playing back-to-back days because we obviously we finish the match, we go home. Me and Minnie are like, we have to watch another like 10 VODs. Like we go home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like with the preparation for the matches, we don't even have time to think about like what the knife. Like we obviously think about it, like, but not properly sit down and talk about it. So that'll be conversations that'll happen after tomorrow.
I see. I've been following you since CS:GO. I mean, when you started with your YouTube channel, and then you transition through Order and Cloud9 as such. Would it be uncharitable to say that, in this sense, this is the first time you've had access to players of this caliber, in terms of the roster talent that you have available compared to your previous rosters? And also, does your approach differ compared to now that you have access to the team that has won silverware last year to this degree?
Yeah, I'd say in Valorant, of course, but in Counter-Strike, I was very lucky to coach some really great players, such as like Automatic. I got to work with the Cloud9 roster. That was the super expensive one. That was pretty famous. They had some great people, like Alex as in-game leader. I really liked him. Obviously, I had Dap. So I think I've worked with some really, really high-level thinkers and players in Counter-Strike, but I think this is the first time in Valorant where I've been like these guys are great. And to answer your question about the approach, it definitely changes. Because it's quite like your job is easier when you're teaching players that aren't as experienced or aren't as good, because it's just kind of like it's more basic stuff. Like you got to focus on this, you got to focus on that. But like particularly when you get to play like Leo's maybe teaching me more than I'm teaching him some of the times. Like he's really, really switched on. He's really like Leo is incredibly impressive with how he processes information and thinks about all the different outcomes. But obviously it depends on the player, right? Like I think like Alpha's still young. He plays quite an aggressive play style, so it's about like obviously when do you go aggressive, when do you play for the team, like so there's a lot of things still to teach these players. It's just more of at a higher level, and it's a lot about helping them also realize it themselves, because obviously you shoving information down their throat is not the best, but if you can sit down with them, help their processes, help their way of thinking, it's often about almost creating a better human being at learning than always like do this here, do that there, like if that makes sense. That would make sense.
It does make sense, yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, yesterday you faced against Heretics, and that wasn't probably the best showing from you guys. Tomorrow you guys will get another chance to rematch against them, and obviously there isn't a lot of turnaround time. What's sort of the patches, I guess, the quick patches that you think you would like to approach in approaching this series differently, I guess?
I mean, we don't have much control. They get the double veto, so they get to pick the map pool. But I mean, for me, it's just about turning up, like closing out the simple rounds. Because I think what happened yesterday was Lotus, we absolutely smashed them as far as a team versus team approach. But then obviously you got to play a post plan. And if you're losing 5v2, 4v2, throwing these rounds, like so, there's a few adjustments to make. I'm obviously I don't want to tell all of them right now, but for me, it's about the simple things: closing out the rounds we should be closing out, and then obviously we played, focusing on the fundamentals, because like there's no time right now for me to sit down and be like, we're going to macro change like this. Like it's just about you just got to play and make the simple things the focus for the team.
I see. Final question. I just kind of want to get your thoughts, I think you alluded to a bit earlier as well, on how important the map pool is in terms of that determining how the series plays out. What's your current thought on the map pool, and do you feel it's currently more difficult, easier? Like, how is it to handle currently, and just your general thoughts on it?
I'm not sure. I don't have an opinion about it easier or harder. I think it's a bit boring, the map pool right now. Yeah, like the maps are just, I don't know, like none of them are like how do I put it? Like they made a small changes to Lotus, Ascent's been Ascent, Icebox, they didn't really change like hardly anything.
Yeah.
Like Breeze, like I personally quite like Breeze, but I know the fans don't like it. I think it's quite an interesting map personally, but I don't know. I think it's been more exciting with maps like Fracture in before and stuff like that. I even quite liked Pearl before the Belong Harbor stuff became meta, but I don't know. It just seems a little bit stale right now. I can't just put my finger on it, but it's not bad. For me, I think Valorant's always been about the agents, less so than having amazing maps. Like I think if you compare to Counter-Strike makes good maps most of the time, whereas Valorant's more about making like the agents fun, and then the map's kind of the secondary thing is how it feels to me. So for me, it's more about the agent balancing than the maps. But obviously, the maps are a huge thing. There's just two things really.
Might just be different approaches from the publishers to highlight the agents, I guess, in this game.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elma, for taking the time to talk to me. Hopefully, we can continue this discussion another time. And best of luck tomorrow for your rematch against Heretics. And hopefully, you guys get a win.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.